Hi there, I'm Jeremy, the Creative Marketing Manager here at Britt Music and Arts Festival. Thanks for joining me for what's going to be my final interview at Britt Music and Arts Festival. Tonight we are talking with Gov't Mule. They are on tonight at 7 p.m. here at the Britt Hill. If you'd like to just introduce yourselves real quick, then we'll get into audience questions.
I'm Warren Haynes.
My name is Danny Lewis.
I'm Matt Apps.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us tonight. First off, we've had a few people ask this. Gov't Mule, where did the name come from?
We can't tell you.
It's a secret
It's
that we've told some people, and some people
we got in
know
big
this
trouble.
story.
Give them the BS story there.
There's lawsuits pending.
Well, we have the other story.
It's
Which one's that?
It's 2 and 3.
it was given to us by J-Mo, who was one of the two original drummers in the Allman Brothers, and myself and Alan Woody, the original bass player, were in the Allman Brothers. I was there for 25 years, and J-Mo gave us the name Gov't Mule, but due to legal ramifications, we can't tell you why.
Okay, so the redacted.
It's a
version.
great story, though. It's a really good story.
Yeah. Hashtag him too.
Well, fair enough, fair enough. Moving on. Who are your musical heroes and where do you draw inspiration? Feel free, anyone can take it.
Well, we have such an affiliation with the Allman Brothers. We can start there. I mean, Gov't Mule was extension of that, really. You know, the business model, the lifestyle, the music, you know, is a big thing, and all types of good music in the rock genre, in the jazz genre, and the folk.
I think that's really key because one of the things the Allman Brothers embraced was things larger than rock and roll. And in their improvisations and in their explorations, sonically and tonally, they were much more than just a rock and roll band. And I think we like to think of ourselves that way as well.
Well, the Allman Brothers got tagged with the phrase Southern rock as some way to categorize their music, and seeing as how I didn't join till much later, I can speak for them. They were never comfortable with that phrase. No musician wants to be pigeonholed, I think. There are stereotypes, but I think more importantly, I know Greg Allman and myself done interviews where he basically said it's a bit redundant to say Southern rock because rock music came from the South. So it's kind of like saying rock. But what became known as Southern rock was a combination of rock and jazz and blues and gospel music and folk music and country music and psychedelic music and rhythm and blues all mixed together. Our sound is a little heavier and a little more rock and roll, but takes all of those ingredients and mixes them together as well. We're just trying to take a bunch of timeless ingredients and mix them together in a way that hopefully comes up with a unique sound.
Interesting. That actually kind of ties into the next question: is how would you contrast the sound of Gov't Mule with that of the Allman Brothers? What makes it different, and where is it the same?
Well, it started. Gov't Mule started as a trio, whereas when Woody and I were in the Allman Brothers at that time, it was a 6-piece band. Eventually, it became a 7-piece band. Gov't Mule being a trio placed certain limitations on the music, but also gave us freedom. There's a freedom that comes with being in a smaller ensemble, but there are also the obvious limitations of having fewer instruments. So that instantly puts you in a situation where instead of one guitar, instead of 2 guitars, there's one. Instead of 2 drummers, there's one. So that kind of helped shape the sound and offer some contrast that was obvious and unavoidable. But we were also influenced by some elements that came later than 1969, whereas the Allman Brothers were only influenced by elements that came before 1969. So that's one difference, and of course, each musician's individual taste. You know, the sound of our band now is a combination of the collective influences and the ones that we have in common, but also the ones that we don't necessarily agree on. You know, everybody brings something different to the table.
It's amazing how much stuff we all listened to when we were coming up that's similar, but it's even more amazing how far different we also all are as individuals and some of the stuff we've exposed to as kids.
One of the things, kind of combining with that question, is was there a little bit of back and forth when you were actually playing Allman Brothers as well as Gov't Mule, like on break from Allman Brothers and get back to Allman Brothers and then do Gov't Mule? Was there any kind of back and forth on there, where you kind of influenced each other a little bit, the sounds of the band?
Yeah, I think any situation you're involved in influences whatever else you're in. You know, so when I would take a break from the Allman Brothers and go concentrate on Gov't Mule, when I came back to the Allman Brothers, I was kind of in a different headspace, and vice versa. I think you're right on the money with that. We all do a lot of different projects, and I personally do a lot of different projects, and I think each one kind of influences each other, because we're lucky to be surrounded by so many great musicians, and we're influenced by all of them. You know, so when we get back together, we all have kind of a fresh outlook.
Interesting. When you think about the future of Gov't Mule, where do you see it going or evolving creatively? And that kind of leads into when you consider adding a member to the band, or if someone leaves. How do you kind of vet them? How do you bring someone else in?
The future is uncertain. The end is always near.
Good advice. That's for you kids out there. Well,
have a nice day.
In 2000, our original bass player, Alan Woody, passed away, and it was unexpected and caught all of us by surprise, and we, at that point, weren't sure if we were going to remain a band at all, especially in the case of a trio like that. Each member is a very important part of the sound, and I know Matt feels the same way I did in the beginning. We kind of thought that there was no reason to keep going, but we got a lot of encouragement from a lot of musicians and friends that either had been through something similar or lost a member, and so we managed to keep it together. And Danny was the next person to join the band. That was how many years ago? 17 years ago.
Close to 18 now.
As far as
that was a step graduating to to 4 people from 3 people.
Yeah, and as far as vetting and auditioning, so to speak, that's a good question, because we had a very unique way of approaching it. It took us 3 years to settle on a permanent bass player. We just used a lot of our friends, in some cases that were famous musicians. We made 2 studio records and a live record with a bunch of guest bass players, from John Entwistle, Jack Bruce, Chris Squire, all 3 that have passed away since then. Les Claypool, Phil Lesh, Bootsy Collins, Larry Graham. There were so many amazing people. Jason Newstead, Dave Schools, all these people that helped us out, George Porter Jr. And at one point, we would take 3 bass players on the road. There would be 3 bass players on the bus, and we'd divide up the songs. Okay, you're going to play these, and you're going to play these, and you're going to play these, because it was too extensive of a catalog to expect one person to learn, especially if they weren't like in a permanent situation. They were just doing it to help us. And as far as when bringing Danny into the picture, there were people like him and Chuck Lavelle and Rob Baracco and Bernie Worrell that would all come and sit in with us, and Johnny Neal, and we all knew the different strengths that they brought to the table. So when Danny joined the band, we had already played together a dozen times or more.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that's not always the way it works out with bands. But in a lot of cases, there's a relationship that's already there that presents itself.
And it's interesting because the feeling of somebody being a part of the group and fitting was more important than replacing a specific instrument that had been lost. So
And in your case, we never had a keyboard player anyway, so
but it just felt good, so we did it.
And we figured out as we went how's the trio going to turn into a quintet.
Right, that's right. And when that bass player came along, I was like, oh, that feels like a band.
Excellent, excellent. One final question. A Facebook follower wrote, as someone who is concerned that technology will be the death of the feel in music, I'm curious how you see the advent of technology shaping the industry and if you're on board with the shifts that may come.
Does that mean you're not on board? He's on board the Titanic.
John Henry, man against
technology.
machine.
Technology is every time some new technology comes on. I'm speaking from a musician standpoint. Every time a new form of technology comes along, it's great if you use it as a tool and you use it some small percentage of the time. If you let it dictate to the music, and if you use it as a crutch, and if you use it all the time, then music suffers. There's a lot of wonderful technology now that allows us to express ourselves better and more effectively and dare I say, easier. But if you depend on all that stuff, the music becomes homogenized and soulless, if I could
It's
say
going to
that.
break down. You're going to have to fix it. It takes a long time.
And thankfully, there are enough people out there that agree with that or understand that. There's you can have a button that you push that makes someone sound more in tune than they were 5 seconds ago, or makes something rhythmically sound more in time than it was 5 seconds ago. But I don't think you're ever going to be able to push a button that makes someone sound like Otis Redding or Aretha Franklin. And that happens. God help us.
Robotics.
Well, thanks again for speaking with us. Thank you for watching the interview today. There are still tickets available for tonight's show. The concert tonight starts at 7 p.m. with Nikki Lane as the opening. Again, I'm Jeremy, Creative Marketing Manager here at Britt for one more day. Thanks for coming.
Streaming.